Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Guys from Magic. This is Hunter, David, Shane, and Steven. Say what up, boys.
Yo, what's going on?
Hello.
What's up, nerds?
We are back. This time we are coming at you with the Commander Grades video on the multicolored legendary creatures from Phyrexia. All will be one. That includes all of the cards available in set, collector, and standard draft boosters. So some of them are straight Commander cards. We will let you know when those cards come up, but we will jump straight into this first one. This first one, the big baddie. It is Atraxa, Grand Unifier. Atraxa Grand Unifier is 3, a green, a white, a blue, and a black for a 7/7 legendary creature, Phyrexian Angel. It has flying, vigilance, death touch, and lifelink. And it says when it enters a battlefield, reveal the top 10 cards of your library. For each card type, you may put a card of that type from among the revealed cards into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. David, I would love to start with you.
Okay, there is so much to unpack with this card. It is a massive body. It has all the keywords you could ever possibly dream of. And whenever this thing ETBs, it's going to refill your hand. We also don't know what battlefields do, but I mean, like at this point, I don't even care because just the rest of the text is so powerful. I actually am super
battle.
high. Oh, it's just battle?
It's just battle.
Oh, well, we don't know what a battle is. We probably do know what the battlefield is. It's what's in front of you. No, I think this card is really dope, dude. This is a card that, yeah, it's super expensive, but I would want to put this in like a flicker style deck. That way you're just constantly refilling your hand. If this thing ever does die, yeah, it's going to cost $1 million. So just like make sure that you have reanimation in the like reanimation style of cards in the deck. So you can just bring it back from the graveyard. And then you're playing 4-color Magic. Sure, you don't have red, but like, just jam this deck full of a bunch of good things, and I think this deck could probably hum.
Yeah, it's kind of just good stuff, like you said, right? You just throw anything and everything into whatever, all 4 of these colors, and you're bound to win. Just
Yeah,
one time this needs to get on the field, and the game's
Yeah.
kind of just wrecked.
Were you gonna say something, David?
No, I'm waiting for you to shit all over this card.
I was not gonna. Okay, I was only gonna say that mana cost is scary, and you're gonna be sitting on the table. Somebody's gonna be holding up either a counter or a removal for this card. It's gonna be like all eyes on you. Don't let it resolve, kind of thing. That's my only worry.
That's my downfall as well. 7 mana is so much mana.
I get what David's saying. It's gonna be a monster when it resolves, but you better be doing some fun stuff before this card comes out, because otherwise, like, what are you doing?
I mean, let's be honest here. If you're playing this card, it is so high in mana cost that you will be doing a lot of stuff before this card hits the field, which I actually think is somewhat of an advantage. Because by the time this comes out on the field, I'd say most of the people have probably dealt with or countered or exiled or destroyed a lot of your opponent's stuff.
You're not wrong. These solid decks, though. Sorry, go ahead, David.
No, I'm sorry. I need to fucking hold my tongue.
No, I know you really want to chomp at it, and I will let you chomp at it.
No, you go.
Again, what I was saying is since these cards, there isn't a clear like theme, or I guess the theme would just be good stuff. Or am I wrong thinking about that? Like, there's no real clear theme in this deck, right? That was a question for anybody.
No.
So in that sense, you're kind of just playing.
Okay.
Magic.
David's theme here is going to be Flicker.
Flicker this card though.
Correct.
Or every card.
This card.
I mean, not even necessarily Flicker. I look at this and my brain actually, like, if we want to play super high power and stuff like that, I think that this card is wonderful in a food chain deck. Because then at that point, it doesn't matter how much this thing costs, and now all of a sudden, this is going to turn into the card that's just it's going to blast through your deck. It's going to refill your hand so rapidly that you're going to be able to cast every creature in your deck in a single turn.
Yeah, that'll be kind of cool.
I really do think that's where this card thrives, is because, like, as soon as this hits the field, you are refilling your hand.
Yeah, I agree.
So all those cool cards, all those cool cards you played before you got to that 7 mana.
Yeah,
I mean, you're just gonna refill your hand and get to play some more because you'll have that 7 mana.
Let's be honest, David. You're playing blue, so it's the best color in Magic. So
I mean, I actually do disagree with that, but
That's why I said it.
I don't know. You're still playing everything but red, and I mean, in all fairness, red is probably the weakest color in EDH. Whenever you're looking at like, if you're playing 4 colors, red is probably the one you want to chop.
Well, I think we're all kind of in agreement here that this card is bonkers if it resolves. So let's move on to the grades for Atraxa, starting with David.
I'm going to give this card an A. I think that this is absolutely fantastic, and the card draw is just way too powerful to pass on.
I see the potential of the power of it. It is very strong. It definitely is a territory, except it is still 7 mana, and that's why I have to knock it down to a B.
Yeah, I'm with you, Hunter. I'm giving this a B as well.
And it's a B.
Yep. Well, Atraxa gets the overall grade of a B. Next up, Ezuri, Stalker of Spheres. Ezuri, Stalker of Spheres is 2, a green, and a blue for a 3/3 legendary creature, Phyrexian Elf Warrior. It says when Ezuri enters the battlefield, you may pay 3. If you do, proliferate twice. Whenever you proliferate, draw a card. Seems good.
I think it'd be really fun.
Yeah, this card's great, dude.
You don't even have to pay the kicker, the quote unquote kicker, to proliferate. Even just having it on the field, proliferating and drawing you cards at just 4, I think is awesome for a commander. And the amount of proliferating green and blue, you should have no problem.
I mean, if you don't have any cards in your hand that proliferate, this is just a 3/3. It does nothing without proliferating.
Well, I'm gonna hope you built your deck to proliferate.
And also, how often are you going to pay that extra 3 on top of the commander tax?
I mean, probably enough. I feel like if you're playing this card, you know exactly what you need to do in order to kill your opponents. You're in green and blue, which are pretty good colors for ramp and card draw and proliferation. So, I mean, at the end of the day, even if you aren't paying the 3, like Shane said, it shouldn't be too hard. But at the end of the day, I mean, maybe twice, but at the end, like, you're still proliferating twice. So even if you do that twice, you proliferated 4 times.
Yeah, maybe you build this in a style that's like a pseudo that Ivy deck that I put together, where you're like casting stuff on your creatures, because there are a bunch of just proliferate spells. I don't know. You can build a fun deck like that. I can see this being entertaining. What do you think,
Oh, I
David?
love this card, man. This card can pop off so easy.
I'm actually pretty high on this. I know that Shane was really high on the mono blue proliferator. I would probably argue that this might actually be better. Just because I don't know. I mean, I love card draw. So this helps you draw into the other cards that then proliferate. So he kind of acts as an engine that fuels himself. Given that, like, I understand your counter argument, like, you're probably never gonna cast this thing for its kicker. If you do even do that, like, maybe once. So this is going to be a card that's going to sit around on the battlefield, and it's just kind of going to chill and get additional value over the course of the game.
I mean, yeah, an 8 mana 3/3 that if you like, I'm assuming you're paying the 3, so it's 8 mana, and you're drawing 2 cards right off the bat. Man, it's not great, but maybe you have other ways to put it. I don't know. This card does seem good though.
I mean, with cards like, Everflowing Chalice for Commander or Pinted Prism, which is a really fun one, that lets you remove a charge counter and you can add 1 mana of any color, and you don't even have to tap it. And it comes in with a charge counter already. And if you proliferate the shit out of that, I mean, you basically have a shit ton of mana. And, with this deck, I just don't see that being an issue. Plus, I mean, Shane, you built that mono blue one. What was that card? Whenever you cast a spell, you proliferate?
Yeah, dude, Ichor Moon.
Yeah. I mean, like,
Well, that wasn't really proliferate. Sorry, that was when you cast a spell, you put a counter somewhere. But then no, there was a creature that did that you were thinking of.
I believe there's an enchantment that does that too that you built, is what I'm saying.
I put the deck
Yes,
together.
Inexorable Tide. Whenever you cast a spell, proliferate.
There was a lot going on in that goldfish you were watching me do.
I mean, I really don't have too much to add on this card other than the fact that if left unchecked, this can take off very easy and you will lose very quickly.
If you say so, I don't agree with it. But we'll move on to the grades. What are you giving it, Steven?
I'm gonna give it a B. Super solid, man. Anytime you can proliferate twice just on an ETB is really good. And then, I mean, card draw wins games, man.
David?
I completely agree with Steven on that. This is a engine that most people are probably not going to want to use removal on because it's not very threatening on its own. So it's just going to sit there and add value to your deck.
Yeah, it's a B.
I'm giving it a C. You swayed me a little bit, but not much. The average for Ezuri is going to be a B. Moving on to Glissa Sunslayer. Glissa Sunslayer is 1 a black and a green for a 3/3 legendary creature Phyrexian zombie elf. It's got First Strike and Death Touch. And it says whenever Glissa Sunslayer deals combat damage to a player, choose one. You can draw a card and lose a life. You can destroy target enchantment. Or you can remove up to 3 counters from target permanent. We'll start with Shane. What do we think?
I like Golgari. That's what I think. But I think what you said is true. You're not when you attack with this. No one likes it blocking with Death Toucher. That's a first striker, so it's whatever you block with is dead, unless obviously it has first strike or double strike. So most likely it's going to get through, or it's going to just eat one of the little chumpies. And then it has 3 relevant things it does when it does damage. This is a really, really strong card, I think.
I do love the fact that, by the way, if you deal damage to, say, opponent A, you can still use its ability to maybe blow up the enchantment that belongs to opponent B. So, like, you don't even actually have to punish the player that you hit.
Yeah. How many times is like somebody open with no blocks? You're like, all right, I'm going to hit you, but I'm going to blow up David's shit.
Yeah. Or you just, like, swing at this as the player who only has their commander in play, and, like, they're probably not blocking this.
Well, that seems like a really fun card.
I think this card actually has a ton of value. I mean, the flexibility to remove 3 counters from target permanents. Not only can you mess around with your opponent's things, get rid of their counters on like their planeswalkers and stuff, but you load this deck with a bunch of like sagas, and you make sure that your sagas just never go away because you keep wiping the counters from them.
That'd be pretty fun, actually.
Steven?
I mean, I have nothing to say about it. A fucking beast of a card, dude.
You have nothing to say about it?
I mean, like, if we have to talk about how amazing this card is, we'll be here forever, and I don't want to be here forever.
Yeah, I'll say the same thing that you guys have been saying. First Strike and Death Touch is incredible combination that is really hard to deal with. Adding abilities on top of it is just value. All right, let's move on to the grades. Steven, what are you giving it?
A.
Wow.
Solid A, dude.
Good reasoning.
That's pretty sedate.
I'm giving it a B. I think it's pretty powerful.
I'm giving this a B as well, Hunter. I think it would be fun. I'm going to play it. It's only 3 mana, dude. That's so much. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a pretty solid B for me as well. It's just got so much flexibility.
Well, there we go. The average grade for Glissa Sunslayer is a B. Next up, Kadeen, first Goldwarden. Kadeen, first Goldwarden is a red and a white for a 2/2 legendary creature human rebel. It has trample. It says whenever Kadeen attacks, it gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of equipped creatures you control. Then, if Kadeen's power is 4 or greater, draw a card.
Hunter, they all can't be winners.
I'm the resident Boros guy.
Yeah,
This is not great.
I know. You already have all your great ones. You'll be fine.
Like they made a Boros Equipment Matters
No way.
legendary creature. Can you believe it?
Is that the first of the kind or something like that, I think, maybe?
Not in the slightest. I think Osgear was one of the better ones that have been printed. But
Hey, at least it has trample, dude.
it can go in Osgear. Yeah,
So you don't like this as the commander?
No, not really. This isn't doing it for me. I mean, eventually, like, more than likely, it's going to be super easy to get that card draw because it's already starting at 2. You just need 2 creatures. But
Yeah, but it's really weird. It's like the opposite of putting the pants on, right? It's like going wide and equipping all of them.
We're going wide equipment for
Really
Mirrodin.
wide pants.
We've spent way too much time talking on this card, dude.
You don't like it, Steven?
What? Why? Why would I like this?
You tell
Steven,
me.
It's great.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just read Hunter's notes for everyone at home. I have never seen this before, is what Hunter said. And that I wrote, wait for Hunter to say his comment, then reply with, and you'll never see it again. And we move on. And we still haven't moved on. I want to leave this Samurai Jack looking artwork card in the dust and move to the next one.
I'm not getting
Okay.
Samurai Jack here, okay? I just want to say I'm definitely getting some more Aquaman vibes with his trident.
I mean, his armor, sure, but you can't tell me when you look at this card, it doesn't look like, I mean, other than his face, because this is like somebody took an actual human Photoshop face and put it on a cartoon body and did nothing else.
Yeah, it's
Hey.
a little interesting.
The animation behind Samurai Jack is fucking great, okay?
What
if
are
you
we
take
even
all that
talking
back-
about right now?
Yeah, that's
Moving on to
why this
grades.
card's so bad.
Moving on to grades. Steven, we'll start with you.
F.
Jesus Christ.
Whoa, at least it does something, Steven.
I don't give a shit.
Damn.
I love the aggression. I think this is a D. I'm not high on this card, but the fact of the matter is this is still an Equipment Matters commander, and it comes in with 2 mana and has trample, so at least Voltron style is low to the ground.
Yeah, low to the ground is why I'm giving it an average C.
Somebody will make this work. I'm gonna give it a C as well.
The average for Kadeen is a D.
Good.
Moving on to Kethek Crucible Goliath. Kethek Crucible Goliath is 2, a black and a red for a 4/4 legendary creature, Phyrexian Beast. It says at the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-legendary creature card with lesser mana value. Put it onto the battlefield, and then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I'm going to start with our resident Rakdos player. That is Dave.
All right, so I saw this card originally, and I was thinking, like, you know what? The restriction in there of only being able to grab, like, the non-legendary cards from your deck is kind of silly. It's a little weird that I want to be sacrificing my shit, so maybe it's like a Rakdos pod. And then I started playing around with actually building this deck, and oh my god, this thing is so much fun. You don't sacrifice your stuff at all. The entire point of building around with Kethek is that you use all those threaten style effects where you gain control of your like target opponent's creature until end of turn. You beat him up with it, and then you sacrifice it, and you cast something from your deck for completely free. So this card is really cool. I'm pretty high on this.
I hate that. You're gonna steal my stuff and get rid of it?
Yeah, so he's
That's
built
the
in
worst.
removal, and you cast your shit without ever having to pay for it.
That's crazy. I'm on board though with it. This seems very fun. This seems up anyone's alley that wants to be a dick at the table.
I mean, this card's cool. I don't know. I mean, my notes were basically, I'll wait for somebody to stop me with it so I can like it.
Oh, he will.
Is the Rakdos doing the sacrifice thing? It is a little different. I like the avenue that you described there, David. It sounds really cool to build like that. But if you don't, is it the only way you can build like that? Because if you don't do it like that, then I don't think it's good.
I mean, even if you just build it as pod, I still think that's pretty solid.
Yeah, because you definitely can't build the token because that just doesn't even do anything. So it's got to be creatures of value you're sacrificing.
Or creatures that recur themselves.
Yeah, that's true. I
Yeah,
like your
you
idea better though.
run a bit of a recursion theme, I guess, around it.
I like
Rack-
stealing and sacking.
Stealing and sacking. Very cool. Moving on to the grades, David, what are you giving good old Kethek?
I think Kethek is a really dope card. It is 100% a deck that probably needs Kethek in play, and you're going to piss off the entire table by stealing their things. So I'm going to give him a C because he's probably going to eat removal as soon as you start stealing your opponent's commanders.
Okay, I was just gonna say, you will be the biggest, not even threat, but just everyone's gonna hate you at the table. I think I'm gonna give us a C as well because it seems like a lot of fun, but relatively fragile.
I mean, I've never been upset when somebody steals my stuff, so I'm going to give this a C.
Well, looks like I'm on board with you boys. This is a C from me as well. Kethek, average grade here is a C. Next up, Malcator, Purity Overseer. Malcator Purity Overseer is a white and a blue for a 1/1 legendary creature Phyrexian Elephant Wizard. It says when Malcator Purity Overseer enters the battlefield, create a 3/3 colorless Phyrexian Golem artifact creature token. And at the beginning of your end step, if 3 or more artifacts enter the battlefield under your control this turn, create a 3/3 colorless Phyrexian Golem artifact creature token. So an elephant that makes golems. Steven, what do we think?
I just think this is a really funny card to me, just because it's an elephant wizard, and I play D&D. I mean, it's funny because wizards are usually like glass cannons in D&D, so the fact that this is a 1/1 is almost too perfect. But I think this card's amazing. 3 mana in some beautiful colors that can flicker this multiple times to make an army of 3/3 Phyrexian Golem artifact creature tokens. I say less. I don't know, man. Like, this is really fun. I love flicker.
Doesn't the flicker effect just get boring after a while?
No, never.
You're just gonna be flickering and making a bunch of 3/3s. Like, okay.
I mean, can you think of a more creative use for this card?
No, that's why I'm saying, doesn't it get boring after a while?
I mean, I'm sure there are other ways to make this card interesting. I mean, there's definitely ways in white and blue. But I mean, at the end of the day, if I can kill you with 3/3 fucking golems, sure, man. I mean, I'm all about it.
Yeah.
I looked at this like a tokens matter deck, and Azorius is a little different than what we normally see. But
Explain.
this is still just a 1/1.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's never
That's
attacking or anything.
terrifying.
What do you mean?
Easy.
Are you swinging with this?
Yeah,
No.
hell no.
It can just get pinged, is what I'm saying.
Okay, so fucking replay it, or flicker it to protect it, or phase it out. Like, you're in perfect colors.
I mean, Steven's argument here is like this is never going to eat removal, and you are probably going to be playing the strategy that is the best at protecting your stuff.
It's like,
You're
plus
not
then
wrong.
you can do fun stuff that Shane likes to do, like fucking lock out the board and play fucking stacks. Like,
I do like doing that.
and this has great fucking cards for tutors. I mean, Trophy Mage, Trinket Mage, Recruiter the Guard. I mean, you have perfect creatures to go find everything you need to win with a combo, or win by, flickering this multiple. Even if you don't want to win by combo, you can flicker this infinitely to make a massive board, and then make your opponents have a board wipe. And if they don't, you win with combat.
Maybe that's my problem here. I feel like aren't there just so many commanders or creatures that you can just flicker a million times and make the tokens? Like, doesn't really seem many. Like, it seems very generic.
I mean, didn't you just build a proliferate deck to take a shit ton of extra turns?
No. That's not what I said. I said the
No,
flicker to make a
I'm
bunch
asking
of
a
things.
question.
It does do that. It could do that.
Yeah. That's basically like you built that deck to do extra turns. I mean, it just depends on what kind of combo you want to go with. I mean, there's tons of decks that do certain things, and there's tons of combos that do different things. If there's a card that can do that in a fun way, like a fucking elephant wizard that makes 3/3s, I'm all about it.
Let's move on to the grades. Steven, what are you giving it?
I'm gonna give it a B, man. Super fun.
I'm giving it a C.
Super fun.
I'm still giving it a C. It's a C.
But are you sure,
C.
Hunter? It's a C for me. It's a C.
I'm going to give this a C as well, just because I feel like this is definitely an engine that you need on board and to be doing a lot in order for this deck to be doing anything.
Well, the average for Malcator is a C. Moving on to Melira, the Living Cure. Melira, the Living Cure is a green and a white for a 3/3 legendary creature human scout. It says if you would get 1 or more poison counters, instead you get 1 poison counter, and you can't get an additional poison counters this turn. It also has another ability where you can exile Melira. Choose another target creature or artifact. When it is put in the graveyard this turn, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. David, you love this card.
I really do. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I have some really poor tastes in friends. And if I say that, what I mean is I have a friend of mine who regularly plays an Infect deck. So this card is great.
Hunter, who's he talking about? Can't
I
tell.
don't know. You?
Me or you? I can't tell which one he's talking about right now.
Yeah. This is so insanely specific that it honestly doesn't deserve to be legendary, in my opinion.
You know what? This is something that every Magic player out there should have in their Magic deck or their Magic box, because it's like it's almost like if you have a friend that says, "I'm going to play a deck that cares about lands," and then your other friend brings out a land destruction deck. It's the same kind of thing. Like, you need this just to make sure they're having a bad day.
That sounds awfully familiar. Steven?
I don't like talking about garbage cards.
Clearly.
But the only good mode is still that second mode. That little flicker effect is pretty good. Just save something.
Yo,
Yep,
flicker it.
save one thing.
Not gonna lie, dude. In my mind, that's flavor text.
That is a mode. Let's move on to the grades. Melira, I'm giving it an F. It's just too specific. I'm not interested.
You know what? Originally, I was actually going to give this a D, but I think you guys kind of swayed me, and I'm going to give it an F.
Well, I'm going to give it a D because I think it's like Swiss Army knife. You got to have one in your box.
You're telling me you're going to spend money to build Melira?
It'll be a budget just so you don't win with poison. It's,
I definitely think that you should have one in your box, like the box that sits on the shelf that you never actually bring out and was
mean the
never
bulk
in a
rare box?
deck.
The bulk rare box, yeah.
This is not a good card. This is an F. But
Well,
against
Melira-
Finn, this is an A.
Melira, the Living Cure, gets an average grade of an F. Next up, Migloz Maze Crusher. Migloz Maze Crusher is 1, a red, and a green for a 4/4 legendary creature Phyrexian Beast. It says it enters the battlefield with 5 oil counters on it. You can pay 1, remove an oil counter from Migloz. It gains Vigilance and Menace until end of turn. You can pay 2, remove 2 oil counters from Migloz. It gets +2/+2 until end of turn. You could pay 3 and remove 3 oil counters from Migloz to destroy target artifact or enchantment. It's got a lot of modes on it, can do a lot of things. Shane, what do we think?
this card's got a lot of stuff going for it, Hunter, and I feel like it's exactly something you'd be playing.
What?
Yeah,
This is not up my alley at all.
100%. You have decks that are those colors.
Yes, that is true. I have decks that have those
It's
colors.
a beast. It's almost
However,
like a dinosaur.
no.
This is going to be like a proliferate deck, though, right? Because once the counters are gone, this does literally nothing.
That's correct. 31 cards can proliferate in these colors, including colorless. 16 before this set was released. So
Wow, it got a
good
lot of
thing
love.
they got a lot of love. It just, like you said, doesn't do anything once it loses the oil, though.
Well, wait, did you even account for not just cards that proliferate, but there are cards in those colors that add oil counters to things too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 'cause I remember seeing cards like that.
There is a red uncommon that puts 3 oil counters on another thing.
Just the one card? Well, fuck. Okay.
That's just one. That is one example that I have off the top of my head.
Oh, okay. So then maybe there's still hope for this card, because those modes the stuff that it does, it seems relevant.
Listen, man, at the end of the day, this is a Gruul card. I mean, are there better cards that are in Gruul? Yes. I was really high on this card, but at the end of the day, the way I look at this card, it is 3 mana for a 4/4 that for another 3 mana you can destroy a target artifact or enchantment, and there's a ton of ways to do that cheaper. So I became less high on this card very quickly.
The more you read, the more you didn't like it.
No, I mean, I when I first read this card, when the set first came out and when this was spoiled, I was super high on it because it's a 3 mana 4/4 with a shit ton of upside. But at the end of the day, it kind of fades away. You know what I mean? Like, okay, cool, I can remove 2, and then I can make it a fucking 6/6, and then I can remove one and then give it vigilance and menace. Like, fucking cool. Like, anything else? I mean, obviously you need to build around this card and build some support with it, but at that point, I'd rather play another role commander.
And the more I'm thinking about this, the more I'm not liking this, actually. It's very selfish. It's only giving it to itself.
Yes.
Correct.
I don't like it anymore.
David?
This is a limited mana sink that very quickly is going to do nothing. I'm not high on this card at all.
Yeah. Let's move on to the grades, and we'll start with you, David.
You know, I'm actually going to give this a D. I don't think this is a good card. I know it's Gruul. It's at least got decent power and toughness for coming in at 3 mana, but this is very quickly going to just do nothing and be way too small to be impactful.
Yeah, I was going to give it a C with everyone, but then, I don't know. I'm down to a D as well now. I don't think it should be a commander.
I'm actually right there with you guys. I had it C originally, but this discussion really just emphasized that it doesn't seem all that great. It's a D for me.
I had it at a D from the start.
He's such a liar.
As we see here, Steven had a B from the start, but we'll go
Bullshit. Screenshot it.
Good do. The average grade for Migloz is a D. Next up is Ovika Enigma Goliath. Ovika Enigma Goliath is 5, a blue and a red for a 6/6 legendary creature Phyrexian Nightmare. It has flying. It has ward, which is pay 3 and pay 3 life. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create X 1/1 red Phyrexian Goblin creature tokens, where X is the mana value of that spell. They gain haste until end of turn. Steven, let's start with you.
I am super high on this card, if I'm being honest with you. The only reason why this card isn't, you get it?
I got it.
You got it? This is the second time I've said that
I
because we had
still-
audio issues.
Still hilarious. I get it.
Still don't understand.
It's still great. Yeah, but the only reason why this card isn't an A in my mind is because it is a 7 mana cost. I don't feel like this card will ever be played in decks that can't ramp fast enough with artifacts. So I kind of feel like this card is going to be a pretty expensive deck. But I've seen this pop off with some really cool cards. With the Phyrexian Goblin creature tokens, since they have haste, a card like Sorcerer Class, which is a blue and a red, and at level 2, creatures you control have tapped at a blue or a red. It's fantastic. So at that point, you're mana neutral on every single card you play, and you really can. The sky's the limit. This card's insane. 100% kill on sight.
Yeah, I mean, it's 7 mana. It's a lot. It's a really powerful effect. I get that. But I don't know.
I mean, it's 7 mana, and if you get it out super early, the pay 3 life I know isn't that big of a deal in Commander. The ward 3, if you get it out early, is still pretty good though.
I think that the mana cost is the only thing holding it back, dog. Because this card, if you can cheat this in somehow early, or there's maybe I don't know. There's got to be a way to get this out earlier than 7, right?
I mean, Soul Ring, Mana Vault, and 2 lands.
There you go, man. So we cracked it. Need mana rocks.
I mean, this is also a commander that cares about having those non-creature spells, so your mana rocks will actually trigger that to make more creatures. So you don't have to be super heavy in creatures in terms of this deck. Red also has access to a ton of rituals. So I don't think that the mana is really going to be that difficult because you can prioritize that whenever you're deck building instead of including a bunch of creatures, since your commander is going to make so many of them.
And yeah, I guess you can use it all for mana, or you just check them in the face.
Yeah.
I do, however, have some concerns because I look at a card like this and I really just kind of see the similarities with the Locust God, which is, granted, not quite as big, but I feel like it's a little bit easier for you to be able to get into play. The tokens have that built-in evasion, and then if they do manage to kill it, it's got a recursion aspect to it as well. So I don't know how high I am on this card just because of how similar I feel like it plays to another card that already exists in the format that I feel like might actually just be better.
Tomato,
I feel
tomato.
like the Locust God is a different kind of play strategy, though. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, I look at both of them as like I want to utilize a storm aspect where I'm casting a bunch of instants and sorceries and they kind of line up the same way for both.
Yeah, well, let's move on to the grades. Steven, what are you giving this?
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I think the only reason why this card isn't an A is the mana cost. I agree with David's points on, it's not that hard, especially with the rituals. But I mean, just for that one fact, and that this probably will be a hate generator after a game or two, I'm going to give this a B.
I'm getting tired of your isn't jokes. And for that reason, I'm giving it a C.
That's the reason? Damn.
I'm just kidding. That's not the reason, but it is a C for me. 7 mana is still way too much.
Did you come up on your original score at all?
Nah.
Nah.
I feel like you did.
Well, I'm with there with Hunter. I'm giving this a C as well. Seems like a solid card.
I'm gonna ride that wave as well. So C here.
Ovika gets an average grade of a C.
I'll see you guys on the next card.
The next card is Rhea Ivor, Bane of Bladehold. Rhea Ivor, Bane of Bladehold is 2, a white and a black for a 3/4 legendary creature, Phyrexian Knight. It has Battle Cry. In case you don't remember what that is, it says whenever this creature attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Also has another ability that says at the beginning of combat on your turn, the next time target creature would deal combat damage to one or more players this combat, prevent that damage. If damage is prevented this way, create that many 1/1 colorless Phyrexian Might artifact creature tokens with Toxic 1, and this creature can't block. I want to start with David.
Can we start with Shane? I feel like we haven't started with Shane.
Okay, we'll start with Shane.
Hey, Dave, what sounds does the Phyrexian Warhorse make?
Wah wah.
Let's get into this card now, boy. I don't really understand this card. I mean, I do. How about this? I understand it being you can read it to me. I know what it does. But even when the card first was spoiled and we talked about this, there was just a lot going on, and I don't know if all the things that are going on make it good. If that makes any sense. I get that it could prevent combat damage. And then what is the strategy here? You're going to be attacking with the mites and hopefully buffing this with battle cry. Like, I just don't know what this deck's going to be doing. I don't really
Basically,
like
what
it.
it wants to do is it wants to pump the team, but stop one of those team members. Basically, if you want to make it the biggest team member you can, and
Yeah.
then stopping that makes a bunch of mites, and then you swing with the team again, pumping the team, and then stopping something, making a bunch of mites.
Yeah, it seems kind of slow in my opinion. Not sure if I'm a big fan of it.
I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I don't think Toxic is actually viable. This is incredibly slow.
Hey,
And
wait,
yes,
what?
What?
You don't like Toxic? This is the first time I've heard this.
Oh no, I've said it multiple times over the
Have you?
course of this series.
Oh,
I don't think Toxic is a mechanic that you can actually probably play. I think that it looked to address some of the problems with Infect, but it really watered down the poison counter aspect of things. I don't think that Toxic is a very good mechanic, and the fact that you kind of have to whiff on a combat and you get a couple of 1/1s, I don't think that those are very good. Those creatures can still be blocked on their own, so chances are they're probably not going to actually even be able to connect for damage, and then they die to everything. So no, I'm not a fan of this card.
I was being facetious, David. I know you hate Toxic.
I'm sorry.
I don't think it's as bad as you're saying, Dave. I mean, literally, like, if you have something like Cathar's Crusade out in the field, and those mites all come in, they're coming in big.
He doesn't
I
care.
mean, like, I don't care. You can play another token deck that's going to utilize that effect so much better.
You gotta admit though, Hunter, it does seem slow.
It is slow. Don't get me wrong. I wrote it is weird interaction. And I wrote how many mites are actually good. That's a great question. Overrun them with mites. Eventually you'll do some poison, right?
Yeah, eventually.
I mean, you still got to hit him 10 times.
Okay, this is the part where Steven goes,
Or proliferate them.
are we still talking about this card?
In white black, like that's I'm not here for it. Steven, take it away.
So I'm actually going to say we should continue to talk about this card.
Okay.
So I agree this card is a little slow, but this is in great colors for Aristocrat. I think the only thing that's kind of holding this card back, in my opinion, is the fact that that target creature has to deal combat damage to a player. And that is really the only thing that's kind of stopping this card from being super amazing. You'd have to either attack a player with no blockers, hope to God they're not going to block, give it trample, or make it unblockable. But otherwise, I think that's fantastic. You're making tokens, and those tokens can be sacrificed for mana. Those tokens can be sacrificed to death triggers to ping your opponents down or ping creatures down, or make your opponent sacrifice a bunch of shit. Then again, are there other commanders for 4 in Orshoff that can do this better? Yes. I think this is just the flavor of Battle Cry, blah, 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 toxic, blah, blah, blah. I do like the fact that this makes you the tokens rather than you having to make them yourselves with, another card, but whatever.
But whatever.
Well, on that note, I actually think we should move on to the grades. David, what do you think?
I'm gonna give it a D. Even with what Steven said, I still think that this is slow. There are so many other routes that you can go in this color pairing that do everything that this wants to do just better.
Steven?
Originally, I had this down for a D as well, but I think after looking at this, after a while with fresh eyes, I'm actually going to go up to a C.
I'm joining you there. This is a C from me as well.
I think I'm going to stick down on the D. If you really care about that, go play LSI Core.
You're going to stick down the D?
Ooh. Guess I said that wrong.
Give me the D.
The average here is going to be a C. Next up, the one and only card actually from the straight to commander is Urtet, Remnant of Memnarch. Urtet, Remnant of Memnarch is 3 generic mana for a 2/2 legendary artifact creature mirror. Whenever you cast a mirror spell, create a 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature token at the beginning of your combat on your turn. Untap each mirror you control. You can also pay a white, a blue, a black, a red, and a green. Tap it. Put 3 +1/+1 counters on each mirror you control. Activate only during your turn. Steven, I know you loved this when it was spoiled. Talk to me.
I don't know if it's just like the weird Wooburg commanders that I really love. Like Goshentai was like an amazing card for me, and that was Wooburg, like Shrine Commander, and now we have a Wooburg Mirror Commander. And I think I am 100% here for it. The fact that you're casting mirrors and creating, mirror creature tokens is really good. So it's basically kind of like I'm not going to say Edgar Markov, but essentially, if it's not in the command zone and on the field, you're making those tokens. At the beginning of your combat, you're untapping those mirrors, and mirrors are usually known to have really cool things to do, like tap for mana. So you're ramping again, and then you get to not only put not only 2, but 3 +1/+1 counters on each mirror you control when you pay Wooburg and tap this, which then you get to untap at the beginning of combat, and then you can re-tap to just pump your team again. Like, built correctly, this is insane. Now, David, shoot me down.
Won't.
Yeah, you will.
I mean, okay, so a card like this is, yes, I will agree with Steven. It's very odd, and I definitely see the attraction. I look at a card like this, and it kind of reminds me of the Reaper King, which is the Scarecrow legendary creature that is, it's just basically, it's another oddity, like 5 mana artifact creature of a really weird tribe that, I don't know. I look at something like this, and mirrors aren't necessarily cohesive. Yes, there are several of them that do tap for mana. There are 5 of them that tap for colored mana. And in a deck of out of 100, like I don't think you're gonna pop off as much as what you might imagine. Yes, you can make them bigger, but having your 1/1 mirrors become 4/4 mirrors is not super crazy. And then this is also going to be a deck that I feel like Urtet has to be in play, and you have to be able to pump that mana into it in order for you to really be able to utilize like the deck strategy. So to me, this is a deck that it's cool. It's very susceptible to removal into board wipes. And I definitely don't think that this is going to be a deck that is going to recover very well. But it's an odd design. It's very unique. And I don't think this is a bad card by any means. I don't think that he's amazing.
There are 42 mirrors.
Thank you, Hunter.
You're welcome.
In a house of mirrors.
In House of Mirrors, don't throw stones or artifacts for that matter.
I think it could be a fun deck. I've seen people play this and it goes off and you can make 1 billion mana sometimes, or sometimes it could do nothing. So I think it'd be a fun deck.
It's a 5-color go wide.
Yeah, which is fine. It's gonna be an expensive land base if you want to make it hum. I don't know if it's gonna be a difficult budget build, in my opinion.
If I can interject there, because of the fact that the majority of mirror are colorless, you can actually build the mana base in a relatively cheap way. So for example, we should have a deck tech coming out on this not too long into the future, past the point of this video, where I actually did build this deck. So I mean, you can utilize like the Pain lands, for example, because they tap for colorless, and you only ever really need them to tap for colored mana on occasion. So there are cheaper ways to build the mana base.
That's true. I guess there's different ways to play the deck. I mean, you could play the straight literal tribal, or you could play just Wooburg. You know.
I mean, I'm talking specifically like for the 5 colors. It's because almost all of your creatures are going to be colorless. Like it's actually not super stressed.
Let's move on to the grades. We'll start with Steven. What are you giving it?
I mean, man, I got to do it because I did it for the other one. I'm gonna give this an A.
What?
I mean, dude, I'm sorry, but like the weird commanders that are Wooburg commanders are like they're so amazing to me. They're so quirky and they're really fun, and it makes me super happy. So I will 100% give anything like that an A.
Yeah, I'm sticking not at an A. This is a C for me.
I'm gonna be there with you, bud. I'm gonna stick with a C.
It's super cool and very unique, and like I would be happy to play up against something like this, or even to play with the deck. But I'm gonna stay at a C as well.
Well, because Steven gave it an A, the average here is going to be a B.
Damn right.
There you go, bud.
When you play this this deck and this card, there's going to be a lot of mirrors.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to the final card we're going to be talking about. This is Venser, Corpse Puppet. Venser Corpse Puppet is a blue and a black for a 1/3 legendary creature Phyrexian zombie wizard. It has lifelink and toxic 1. It also says when you proliferate, choose 1. You can either choose the first mode, which is if you don't control a creature named the Hollow Sentinel, create the Hollow Sentinel, a legendary 3/3 colorless Phyrexian Golem artifact creature token. And the second mode says target artifact creature you control gains flying and lifelink until end of turn. Question.
Yeah.
Right up. Why does it have to make a legendary creature? Would it have been broken if it wasn't legendary?
Well, then you just do the flicker thing like the elephant. Make 1 billion, dude.
No, you have to proliferate this. So I'm going to go ahead and explain why. It still wouldn't be good.
Yeah. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Why? Because once you proliferate and make that golem, you can only do the second mode from now on. It doesn't make any sense. It is super slow. To be a 2-mana creature saying super slow, that's crazy.
This is a card designed for limited. This is not a card designed to be a commander of a deck.
But it's so cheap.
So cheap and it's so not good.
But it's so cheap.
I mean, if you do hit your opponent 10 times, they do die.
They're dead, yeah.
Hey, Mr. Demir player, Steven, what do we think of this?
I don't want to talk about it.
You don't like Venser?
I mean, man, I was really pumped on this card because A, I love Demir. B, I think that 2 mana for a 1/3 is really good, especially with lifelink and toxic. C, it's got some cool effects. And then we're getting to D, which is where I'm at for a grade, and I don't have any other points.
This I think is following like the same line as what Ashnod did from the last set, where it's a recognizable character that a lot of people care about. So they wanted to go out of their way to give it a legendary creature in this set that just completely sucks.
That doesn't make any sense,
over.
David.
I'm still not over Ashnod, by the way.
I can't tell.
David. Well, let's move on to the final grades here for Venser. I'm going first. I'm giving it a D. It still does something, but it does it slow.
We can all just say our grades, can't we?
Yeah.
David said D. I'm probably going to give it a D as well. David?
I like how he gave. I like how Shane says David said D. I'm giving it a D. What do you say, David?
I thought I said Steve did. Steven said D.
What?
It's been a long night. Can we let's just go?
I'm gonna give this a D as well. I'm really upset because I really do love Venser as a, the fucker. I mean, just creature. I guess I don't know.
Archetype.
Creature. I wouldn't say
character.
Venser's an archetype.
Just. I'm done.
What are you giving it, David?
This card bad. It D.
I told you it was a D.
The final average grade for Venser is going to be a D. And that is going to do it, as all the grades for the multicolored legendaries of Phyrexia all will be 1. If you guys agree or disagree with any grades, please comment down below telling us what we missed when we graded all of these. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. What are you waiting for? Check the description where you'll find links to our Instagram, our Twitter, and our TikTok that is @GuysAtMagic for everything. And until the next video, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.
Later.
Bye-bye.
Hasta luego.